obviously I know there's a massive world title fight coming up for one of your fighters in terms of obviously George Groves. I know that's obviously in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. But before I go on to Groves Smith fight itself, we didn't actually manage to catch up with you after the fight with Eubank at the Manchester Arena. Okay, I don't think we've seen you since. So I mean, you know, now we're here with you. I remember actually looking back at that fight before it happened. Obviously, Eubank was the favourite with the bookies, etc. You know, it seemed like pundits were sort of maybe tipping him to win a bit more than Groves if you sort of did 10 people in a row, or maybe it was split.
Loads of people were.
Yeah.
People forget it, you know, like everyone tipped him to beat him.
But I was gonna say my question was, when you sort of hear people, when you know your fighter as good as you do with George, when you know his ability and what he can do in the gym, etc., do you and him sort of almost chuckle and think, well, we actually have a game plan here that's actually there to beat him pretty much? So are you guys sort of thinking, well, you know, it's all well and good everyone saying this, but we actually know what we can do on fight night? And that actually came to fruition, didn't it, when you beat him comfortably over the 12 rounds? Yeah,
exactly. And you know, it wasn't a close fight. People forget.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
It wasn't a close fight. It was a complete one-sided fight. The only thing that was entertaining about it, well, it was an entertaining fight because he was walking into punches all the time, and you know, George was making him miss and making him look clumsy, and the crowd were getting excited about it. The only thing that was entertaining was the fact that George's shoulder went out. You know, in terms of like, that's the only bit of success that Eubank had the whole way through that fight, until, and he, you know, when the shoulder came out in the last round. So he can come out of that thinking, oh, you know, I kind of was getting to him. He wasn't getting to him. He got completely shut down, and you know, he's found his level, and that's not at George Groves' level. So the two of us were in a change room, and we were smirking, we were laughing at each other because we just knew it was one of those feelings that was like, all right, you know, we know this. Like, it was a bit like, you know, Frampton Quick. Like, we just laughed at each other for this is tipped as a 50-50 fight, or even Martin Murray versus Groves. Like, people forget that was tipped as a 50-50 fight, and it was just like we're smirking, thinking it's so easy to beat those guys. It's so easy to work on a game plan because you know what you're getting with them. You know what you're going to get with Chris Eubank. He's going to come out and he's going to let his hands go in flurries. He's going to, you know, ponder around and sort of look around and admire his work. And it was just making sure George didn't get dragged into it emotionally and frustrated him, and it worked down to a T. But you know, it's funny because it's funny to reflect on it. People, you know, screaming and saying, you know, Eubank's gonna, you know, he's gonna batter him, and you know, the polls that we had in Boxing Monthly, we had even, you know, you had Booth saying that he's worked with the two of them. He tipped Eubank to beat him. You had I remember even David Haye spoke to me before. He said, it's just he's all wrong for George, and I thought, I don't see it, mate.
Really? David Haye?
Yeah, the two of them were, and I remember thinking, you know, that work rate and stuff. But because of the sparring sessions, and George is quite lazy in spars, like, well, he was before he started working with me, and I remember thinking, like, you know, it's just not. He's got an element to him that he doesn't show in sparring sessions or when he's really switched on, and yeah, I mean, I just full of confidence, full of belief, and you know, but it's just another fight. It will just go down in the history books. People will forget about it, and you know, it's one that we can always reminisce on, and make sure that, you know, when all the backslappers come back on board, like they always have every fight that he's had, you know, how many times has George been written off? People are getting on it, you know, oh, you know, you're looking phenomenal now, but those same people were the people that said, oh, he's finished after the Belichick fight, and you know, oh, the Eubank will tear him up. Now they're believers, so it's like you just got to make sure you're true to yourself. And someone like George, you know, he cares for his family, and that's it. You know, he doesn't get sucked into the boxing, and it's a breath of fresh air to work with, because he's not always trying to be a people pleaser and go out there and please people and sort of please the fans, and you know, he just goes out there to win and make sure that he doesn't get dragged in emotionally.
And Obviously, I remember when we were ringside actually watching that fight, and obviously I don't know if you were probably, I think you mentioned this actually in the post-fight press conference, but it seemed as though there were so many, well not so many, but there were a few knockdowns that weren't even called. It seemed like Eubank touched the canvas maybe, I don't know, once or twice, but the sort of, I don't know, the ref said it was a slip. Did you feel as though George did knock him down and it wasn't counted a few times?
There was like a little sharp, he touched the right hand, he chopped a little jab. I can't remember what round it was. I mean, it was around 4, that maybe 4 or 5 rounds in, and George was starting to really hurt him. And he was like hitting him on the top of the head, and Eubank kind of like misses and holds and pushes. He's very physical, so when those shots were clumping him on the top, he touched down once or twice, and it was like clear knockdowns. I mean, there was definitely one knockdown that was clear, but it was a good thing is that it wasn't a close fight, and we didn't need to sort of, you know, we didn't need to get those extra points, but you know, it's just, you know, there was a few knockdowns in there, but you know, he's definitely got a good chin, Eubank, and kept coming the whole way through and took some big shots and really showed his character. So yeah, absolutely.
And I know obviously now moving on with Callum Smith fight, I think this is a fight. I remember when actually George, after he boxed, I think it was Dennis Douglin, and he was waiting for the Barry Jack fight because it was mandatory. I remember him, DeGale and Callum Smith were on ringside when Sky Sports still had it, and there were the 3 of them there, and then it was like, you know, can we match all these guys up together? And obviously now all these years later, and they've finally obviously seeded accordingly. Now obviously we get the fight that we've been wanting to see for ages with Smith and Groves. So yeah. How's he looking sparring? How's the game plan coming along? I know it's only about 2 weeks away now. So how's it all coming together?
Yeah, it's coming together real good. I mean, it's a different camp to what we've normally had. It's 7 months since the last fight. You know, he's had to get an operation on his shoulder. He's let that heal. People, you know, forget about this. You know, the process that it takes to rehab a shoulder is a long time, and you know, you can get disheartened because you can have ups and downs, and you can really sort of struggle to sort of get it coming back. But the great thing is that it's end of December. You know, we were struggling to sort of get back and fight in end of June, July, and you know, luckily we've got the extension. We've had time. We've had time to sort of get back, get the shoulder firing again, and sort of the last 7 weeks has been great. You know, he's had the guy called Ben Carraway. He's also had a guy called Kevin Lidlow, 2 of the best sort of chiropractors and physios that work in the UK, rehabbing the shoulder. And you know, it's been a great process. It's something that we've had to completely change our training and change the way we structure it. But it's also at this stage of his career, he's 30. It's nice to sort of change it up, so you're not doing the same things all the time. And he's looking really sharp. He's been sparring Chris Smith, as I said. He's done he's done, you know, full 10s with Chris. He's had other people in sparring. He's had Joshua Boazzi in this week. He's going to have him in again at the end of the week. So we had loads of different looks in the gym in terms of like different styles, and it's kind of hard to get that specific style for one fighter. And that's what makes them obviously so effective and good, because you know, Callum Smith is 6'3",
I think, yeah.
You know, maybe even a bit taller. You know, 6'3", and he's a super middleweight. So having to sort of get sparring partners that are that size, but also quick, you know, it's hard. So you know, but we've had a great camp. We really have, and his sparring's come in, and he's, you know, we're not even discussing the shoulder anymore, which is nice, because you know, for the last 4 weeks everything's just been going, you know, been going flat out, and he's been getting better with every spar. He's been sharpening up just like a normal camp would, and I'm really fully confident that the 28th, it's going to be different. It's going to be so many different variables. We're going into a place that we don't know, We don't know what the atmosphere is going to be like. It's going to be different. It's the first time boxing's been there. They don't sort of drink, out there. It's the first time. It's there's going to be a fully sober atmosphere. I can kind of imagine it being a bit more like a German atmosphere where they clap at the end of the rounds and respectful rather than screaming and shouting. But all these different things, it doesn't make a difference. By the time that first bell goes, it's just another fight. It's just like another sparring session with smaller gloves on, and but it's a really, really important fight for us to win. And I think George, being at that level, had the experience and stuff. He's dealt with this before, and it's the first time Callum Smith's stepping up. But he's definitely a world-class fighter.
I mean, do you think sort of some of his previous big fights? I'm talking about the De Gales, the both Froch fights, the Jack fights. Even the Murray fight. I guess that was the O2 Arena as well. Do you think all these sort of fights he's had before, and even though he might have lost some of them, is really sort of helping him big time now with some of these other big clashes he's in with the Eubanks now, the Smiths, and the World Box Super Series?
Yeah. I mean, as that old saying is, you don't lose, you learn, and you do lose, and you do have to sort of understand why you went wrong and how you sort of gone wrong. And he's had his 3 losses, and that first fight against Froch wasn't it was arguable how he was down on the scorecards, I think, or he was just there or thereabouts, and he pretty much dropped him in the first one, the next 6 rounds, and lost the next 2 or whatever it was, and got stopped, or 2 or 3. So he's had to sort of try and overcome people all the time, and having to sort of prove himself. And since he's had these fights and won them, and people are now backing him, it's just a different dynamics. But he's definitely learned from everything that he's done in the past, and it's a great person to have in the gym as well for the young guys coming through. To sort of if you're looking at him thinking, you got Lee McGregor, who, as I said before in the interview, he'd fight anyone, and it's just like, I've been there, Lee. It's great and all, but just wait. Time is a great thing, and you got to just keep progressing and making sure. Like, same thing with Josh. Taylor thought, when you come off a couple of wins like that, you just think you're unbeatable. You just think you can walk through anyone, and then suddenly you get hit with a good shot, and you're sort of, okay. I mean, his fighting instinct took over, and he was able to sort of come back and assess things, and that's something that I can't teach with Josh, for instance. But it's just the mindset, being in the gym, going, okay, there's always going to be someone out there that can punch harder than me in your division. There's always going to be someone out there that's tougher than you, that's physically stronger than you, that's got a better chin or whatever. It's about being able to mix